do roll call. Robert Cassidy?
Yeah.
Heather Legier?
Yeah.
You're here, okay. Heather Legier? She's absent. Ann Raponi?
Here.
John Shu, present. Joe LaValle?
Here.
Brian Averback is absent. Nicholas Rudolph?
Here.
So, item number 1, review and approval of the meeting minutes from June 1st, 2022. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second it.
Too late. I beat you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. Number 2 is a continuation of a public hearing for the new Alden Fire Station on 140 Linway, DEP file number 061-0783. Someone want to? Turn it a little bit more. There you go. There you go. Yeah. He'll zoom in on it. There you go. Okay. So if you want to turn on the mic there and state your name and address.
Is it on?
Yep.
Hi, I am Cam Gozan with Brennan Consulting, here to present the Alden Fire Station at 140 Linway.
So for the commission, this is a continuation of a public hearing from last month. 3 of us did go and visit the site. Turn your mic on, Ann.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you have a question, Ann?
No, I don't. I was
Okay.
just reviewing the paperwork here. No,
Okay.
I don't have a question. Thank
All
you.
So 3 of us did go and visit the site. Are there any other questions from any of the commissioners? No? Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions regarding the new fire station? All right. So one question, just to kind of get it on the record, can you talk a little bit about the schedule?
So,
And I know it's caveats and broad terms, but.
well, the schedule right now is contingent on the MEPA process. Right now, we are currently in review for the single environmental report. Sorry.
There you go.
We are currently in the review process with MEPA for a single environmental impact report. It was submitted on June 15th. It was noticed in the Environmental Monitor on June 27th, I believe. And we'll be getting comments back on August 1st. We don't expect anything we don't really expect to get anything back from them in terms of large site changes. So we will be going into construction and bidding out either late this month or early in August. And then after that, we'll be going right into construction.
So construction starting October, September?
I guess that's contingent on how long the actual bid process takes, but it shouldn't be too long. I know that they're in a real hurry to get this built.
Okay. All right. All right, any other, Commissioner LaValle?
What's the time frame once you start building?
believe it might be a year and a half, 2 years. I'd have to review that again, but I believe they wanted to finish that fall or early 2024, fall of 2023, early 2024.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
No questions at all, thank you.
Okay. So hearing no more questions from either the public or the commissioners, I accept a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
All in
I'll
favor?
second it.
All in favor?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Guys in favor? Okay. All right. Also accept the motion to approve the NOI and issue an order of conditions.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Okay.
Thank you. I just have one question. Do you know when we can expect to get the order of conditions?
How soon do you need it?
Well, obviously, the sooner the better in terms of the timeline of the project. We'd like to get out ahead of the MIPA comment review period.
No, I'll probably have it out before Friday.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
we got, I think there's 10 days you have to issue it within, something like that.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Do you want it mailed, or do you want to pick it up at City Hall?
Mail would be good.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All
Good.
right. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thanks. All right, next up on the agenda is an amended order of conditions for DEP file number 061-0728 at the Global Terminal on Lee Burbank Highway. The above-ground piping project had changed significantly, and at our last commission meeting, we voted requesting that they ask for an amended order of conditions so we can update that order with the new drawings. Can you? Oh, he got it. How do you do that? Never mind. All right, you state your name and address.
Tyler King with CHA Consulting. This project is for 140 Lee Burbank Highway. As you mentioned, we had presented last month requesting an extension on the previously approved order conditions as well as an amendment. And we're here before you tonight to present this project for the amended order portion. Would you like me to run through the project details again, or any questions? I know there was some questions regarding the authority matrix for spill prevention and things of that nature. I sent along that yesterday. Are there any other questions, or would you like me to run through the project briefly?
Well, let me, do any of the commissioners have any questions regarding this project?
Not at this time, thank you.
A lot of the issues that I would have wanted to speak about were presented at the site inspection. So for the most part, except for a little bit more clarification about possible spills and the what's necessary as far as, and I believe at the site I asked you what the state requirements and the fire marshal and some other requirements are. Other than that, it was fine.
Okay. So I did forward you the matrix of all the agencies involved that have oversight over the project. I sent that over this morning to you, so. Commissioner Cassidy, do you have any questions?
How long will it, when are we getting rid of them? Are we getting rid of the old ones?
Okay,
I really want
all right. Does anyone in the audience have any comments or questions? So hearing none, technically I didn't really open the hearing. So we're going to open the hearing and then accept the motion to close the hearing.
I might make a
I don't need a
motion.
motion to open, I just need a motion to close.
We'll make a motion to close.
I'll have a motion to close.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then a motion to approve the amended order of conditions.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll take a couple days and send that over.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. Next up is a request for determination of applicability. It's on the public right-of-way near 5 Ward Street from Gogan Transportation. The work scope consists of test borings and installation of ground monitoring wells as a result of an oil spill. This project is in and around some wetlands and land subject to flooding. Someone here want to? You state your name and address.
Brian Mulder, 10 State Street, company's Atlas Technical Consultants.
Okay.
Mike is on.
Turn your mic on.
Yep.
Redo it. State your name again. And
Yeah. Brian Mulder with Atlas Technical Consultants of 10 State Street, Woburn, Massachusetts.
Okay. So I did walk this project down last week, and maybe you just want to kind of restate high level what's involved.
Yeah, so there was a tanker truck that flipped over at the Brown Circle Rotary. I think it was 6,000 gallons was released, cleaned up, and the work we're proposing doing is environmental test boring and installation of monitoring wells to further assess the environmental contamination near the Rumney Marsh drainage channel.
Okay. Commissioner LaValle?
Yeah. Out of curiosity, do you do a test boring at a particular, do you keep going at a particular depth until you find no oil, or do you, how does that work with the scope of the amount of boring that you do?
Right, so groundwater in this area is pretty shallow and oil tends to float, so you wouldn't expect to go any deeper than like 8 to 10 feet. We don't plan to go any deeper than that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
No questions.
Okay, so everyone saw the package with the scope. So under my reading of the CMR, test borings, monitoring wells are exempt, and these are of a temporary nature. So I believe this work is all exempt, and it would require, on the request for determination of applicability, a negative determination. So I would, someone would like to make a motion to approve a negative determination for this project?
I'll make a motion to, for a negative determination.
I'll second
All right, all in favor?
it. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right, unanimous, okay. Do you want it tonight, or can we mail it to you?
Yeah, and mailing is fine. We're still waiting for a Mass DOT approval, so
Okay.
we're waiting on that. Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
It's not good.
All right, next up is continuation of a public hearing from a couple of months ago for 100 Lancaster Avenue, DEP file number 061-0780. This was a house on an existing foundation that was being remodeled, rebuilt, and really concerned the landscaping surrounding the house, any changes there. Three of us did go and visit this last week. We didn't really see any issues or concerns. So, state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Gensi Pancha, 100 Lancaster Ave Revere.
Does anyone have any questions?
None.
It's a nice house.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I also like to commend the workmanship that what we saw there. It was a very excellent job that's
Thank you
been
very
done
much.
so far.
Appreciate it. Thank
And
you.
I can't wait to see when it's all done.
We're almost done.
Okay.
Getting there very soon. Probably this month, I believe.
Okay. Is there anyone from the audience that has a concern or a question? All right, hearing none, I accept a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Also, accept a motion to approve. It was a continuation, so we closed it. Also, accept a motion to approve the NOI and issue an order of conditions.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve
A
and
second?
add the conditions of order.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. That passed unanimously too, okay. So I'll send that over in the next couple of days
It's okay.
with some instructions. You'll have to record it and, but you should be good to go. Okay?
Thank
you.
Thank you for your help.
Thanks.
All right, next up
Yeah, here it is.
is a notice of intent for 101 Lee Burbank Highway. This is the Global Tank Farm on that side of the road. It has a new owner that is going to be taking down those tanks over a period of time and constructing state-of-the-art automated warehousing, some environmental remediation. Someone who wants to speak to the project. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing.
Hi, my name's Chris. I'm with Saracen Properties, representing Revere MA owner, the new owner of the site. We can walk through the development plan or start however you'd like.
Okay. What was your last name?
Roller.
Roller, okay.
Yeah.
I think start, kind of give a high level. Do you have a drawing of what's there right now?
I don't believe so. I think it was uploaded in the NOI filing document, but I can walk you through it. So essentially, Nick, if you leave that up. So essentially the site, we're dividing it into two sections for a phased development. The northern half of the property is comprised of 19 above-ground oil storage tanks right now, with 4 or 5 ancillary masonry buildings and Nick's Automotive. The southern half of the building has 10 above-ground tanks on it, and 1 accessory masonry building. So, you know, our intent right now, we're filing for NOI for the northern half of the property for construction of a roughly 350,000 square foot technology-enabled warehouse building. So, you know, the development, we're breaking up into 3 primary phases. The first will be demolition of the existing tanks and buildings. The tanks and lines are certified gas-free right now, So those tanks, by demolition, it'll primarily be dismantling. And then secondly, we'll be raising the grade of the site to account for 2040 and 2070 flood level rising, sea level rise. And then go for a robust geotechnical program to stabilize the site, and then ultimately start construction of the northern building. So I think it's important to note that, our work is within the buffer zones, but involves no wetland sort of impacts. We're being very careful to, keep the site in this environmental condition and improve, there's some contamination on the site, and we're going to take care of that. And, safety at the very top.
Okay. Commissioner LaValle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First question, can you give me a little bit of history? When were those tanks constructed?
So on the northern half of the property, they were constructed, I believe, in the 1940s and 1950s. And on the southern half of the property, they were constructed in the 1960s and 70s.
And second question, before you purchased this property, your company purchased this property, did they have to show you test borings to give you an idea if there was any kind of contamination there prior to you purchasing this property?
No, so under the Mass DEP system, if there was a release or something like that on the property, a release tracking number is filed. So we had a good account of what the environmental conditions were going into the acquisition.
And how was that? How did you already know ahead of time what the environmental condition was of the ground underneath? I mean, who does that work? The owner of the property, Global?
That's right.
Or they did?
Yeah, so the owner of the property would hire a licensed site professional under the Mass DEP system to address any contamination. So, in our development of the property, there may be some further environmental studies.
Let me ask it a different way then. When the purchase went through, were you aware of any contamination on that site?
Yeah, we were generally aware of publicly available information.
And the next question, so obviously you're going to be addressing that.
Correct.
Could you give us some idea of the scope of the work that's going to be done?
Right.
In that respect?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 2 open RTNs on the northern half of the property, and they're open. And our environmental engineer is also here, who can speak probably a little bit better to this than I can. So I'll let Rob take this question, if that's okay.
Can you state your name and address?
Rob Reynolds with Verdantis, and our office is at 30 Shrewsbury Street in Holden, Massachusetts. So, northern portion of the property.
Yeah.
Northern portion of the property, as Chris mentioned, there's 2 open releases at the Mass DEP. The vast majority of historical releases have been closed at the Mass DEP, and there's no further response actions necessary associated with those. The 2 that remain open in this portion of the property largely remain open because tanks existed over the area that we need to address. So once those tanks are removed, we're going to have the ability to go in, assess, and remediate as necessary, and then close it through the traditional process of through the Mass DEP. And the 2 locations are up here. And, I think it's this one here. Tanks 11 and 25 when you end up looking through the documents. Does that give you a sense for what you were asking?
So those are the 2 areas that you have some concern about what might be under?
Correct. Yep. I mean, we have a general sense because we know what's going on just outside them. It's when the tanks get removed, we'll have access to them and be able to do a little bit better job of assessing and then remediating if necessary.
I'm curious what the What's the topography underneath there? What does it consist of? Is it gravel, or did they put fill in? Is
Yeah.
there sand if you go far enough down, or bedrock? I don't know what's under there.
Yeah.
Could you give me an idea,
I'm
of
gonna say
profile?
So we haven't accessed the site to do that exploration yet, but my sense is it's gravel, crushed stone surface, gravel beneath, and then probably something more marshy below that. Because that's a kind of a filled-in wetlands area in general, historically.
What's gonna be stored in the warehouse when it's finished? What kind of a warehouse is it gonna be?
So these are speculative buildings right now. We don't have a tenant in mind.
Commissioner Rudolph?
So, one more, please don't sit down. Thank you. As these tanks age, they have to be replaced. How long was the deferred maintenance or this pushed off before they, this case was open for an extended period of time? It was probably because removing a tank or doing a preventative maintenance on it wasn't feasible to get this remediated, essentially. So how long has it been since they opened that file for the remediation?
One was, I'm gonna say, mid-2000s, so it's fairly old. And then the other is more recent, I'm gonna say, in the last 5 years, but I'd have to look back, yeah. For some of that stuff, as much as, we're looking back at history, we're kind of looking at it from this point, how are we gonna address it moving forward?
Correct. And these things, being on the books for as long as they have, it has had time to travel. So we
Sure.
want to make sure that this is all encapsulating when you
Yep.
do begin the remediation process.
Yep.
So, good luck.
So it was a rather long list of historical spills. And I agree, most of them have been closed. I think I looked in the report that just came out, there's the 2 or 4 were open, I guess only 2.
Yeah, yep.
So-
Two even, not in the phase 1 area, but 2 even more recently, yeah.
Right, so there were 4 then. So 2 in phase 1 and 2 in phase 2.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So one of my concerns is, and I assume the new owners have assumed all environmental liabilities going forward, all past sins, and
Correct.
that's true. So do you have a plan for doing soil testing in random places just to make sure the site is clean?
We don't, it's because there have been a number of spills on the site, what we can do is look at all of the historic data that occurred out there, and we have, there's a mosaic of information available to us environmentally, so, there isn't a strong feeling like there's a big data gap.
Okay. And when you talk about raising the grade, what are you going to be using to raise the grade?
Ultimately, I think to be determined, material has yet to be determined.
So right now you have a tank, it's surrounded by a berm. I assume the soil is kind of clay-like, kind of hard, to allow the oil or anything that would spill to pool up in the short term. So are you knocking the berms down as backfill, or are you gonna take the tanks out and fill that big void up?
Nick Scully at VHB, 101 Walnut Street in Watertown, Mass. So yeah, the plan is to go in and basically each of the berms around the tank, to get access to that, you'll have to remove some of that berm. The tank will be removed, and then a large earthwork operation will happen. So there needs to be fill brought into the site. Obviously, we're raising the grade. significant amount. I think the bottom elevation of most of those are around 4 to 6. The finished floor of the building is 13 and a half-ish. So we'll be bringing everything up significantly. So the portion of the site that are below the berm, we'll basically push that soil around, utilize everything that's on site, but it is an import site, so we will be bringing soil in.
Okay. And that will all be clean fill?
Correct.
And then how do you clean the tanks before you dismantle them? And then how are you gonna dismantle them? You gonna come in with big shears or?
So the tanks were cleaned upon purchase.
Okay.
And as far as. Yeah, sheared.
Big shears? Okay.
Yeah, the tanks were cleaned and as well as the lines.
Okay.
So there's no petroleum within the first phase, the portion of the site that was given over. The lease back area is still in operation, obviously, the phase 2 piece.
Just be careful if you strike a torch on pipe.
So, I think, let me just jump in on that. So, we're coordinating with Revere Fire. There'll be a fire watch, during demolition,
Yeah.
and it'll be sheer work.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of parking spaces. So I get it for trucks because it appears to be a logistics center, warehousing. But it was a lot of car spaces. What are those for employees?
Correct. For employees.
How many employees do you anticipate?
It would really depend upon the tenant's business model, right?
Yeah.
But, this project will bring hundreds of jobs to the local community. And the parking spaces will provide access for those employees.
Because, maybe just say it out loud, how many parking spaces you're planning on for employees?
Yeah.
It's well over 200, I read that, or almost 300?
Correct. We went through site plan approval.
Yeah.
And it's approved.
Yeah.
The first phase of the project will have 293 car spaces.
A lot of cars. So then maybe you can talk a little bit about the stormwater system and the stormwater treatment, oil and grease, all of that type of thing.
So this plan shows all the drainage in green, sort of highlighted here. The plan is to utilize the existing location of the outfall at the wetland. So all stormwater will discharge to that same location to match the existing condition. Basically, everything's going to be collected in deep sump and hooded catch basins. It'll go through a water quality unit, and then it'll go into, basically installing large subsurface chambers for detention to hold back the water and sort of match the peak rates from the existing condition. So everything will be treated before going into that, and then it's a pumped discharge. So pumped to match the existing discharge rate. So everything will be treated before it discharges, which is a huge improvement from the existing condition. There is total about an increase in about 6 acres of landscaping, which is going to be planted. We have a landscape plan, went through site plan approval. So a big improvement there, as well as reestablishing the 20-foot landscape buffer around the wetland. So the plans show that as well. It occurs in some places, but in most cases, there's sort of pavement and gravel almost up to that wetland line. So that's kind of the stormwater plan, basically collecting everything, storing it underground, and then pumping it out to the existing outfall.
Okay. So just make sure I understand, 6 acres of addition, or compared to what's there now, there will be an additional 6 acres of permeable surfaces.
Correct.
So an overall improvement, just for phase 1? Or is that
That's total.
total? Okay.
So it's probably similar, it's probably about 3 and 3 for the site. And phase 1 is about 22 acres total, the whole site is 44. So it's about 3 acres on each of the parcels.
Okay. Are you going to have to do any dewatering during construction?
We're not sure. Groundwater, we think, is down around elevation 4. The system is right around that, so depending on where we are, we may or may not have to do that. We've been working with DEP. We're gonna get a remediation general permit for the dewatering, just in case we have to. And we've already filed for the CGP. So not sure if we'll have to, it depends what those utility trenches look like. But we will have that on hand just in case we do need to do dewatering. We will have that RGP.
And the foundation, is it on columns or piers, or is it slab on grade and footers?
So there is going to have to be some soil work done for that. What did we decide on? Rigid inclusions to a transfer platform.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I ask a question?
yes, Commissioner.
As you were speaking, you know, I just, all the years I've been looking at those tanks, I just assumed everything was above the ground, and I might be wrong. Do those tanks actually go into the ground that exists now?
So just the foundation is in the ground.
And what does the foundation consist of now on those tanks?
I think most of them are just a concrete foundation.
Like a cement slab, more or less?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions? So,
No questions at this
all right,
time.
I'm going to open it up to the public here in just a second. But we will have to schedule a site walk down. We have to verify the wetlands flags and kind of get an indication of the site. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Are there any questions or concerns from anyone in the audience? Okay, so DEP did not issue a file number, and we haven't done a site walk down, so we can't vote on this project this evening. So I have to kind of get you on record. We're going to have a continuation to our next meeting, the first Wednesday in August, if that's okay. And then what we'll need to do is schedule a site walk down before July 19th. Let me look at the calendar. So, since most of the commissioners work, we try and do these walk downs on Saturdays in the morning, if possible. So that leaves July 9th, this Saturday, or July 16th. Do the commissioners have a preference? Okay. Let's see. So 8 o'clock on the 16th, can you guys support 8 o'clock on the 16th? Thank you. 8?
8
Okay.
a.m. on site there?
Yep, yep. Do we need to wear anything special? Hard hat, steel-toed shoes, galoshes?
Nope, just maybe
bug spray? Yeah, okay. All right, so we're gonna continue this hearing and, pick it up at the site meeting. Wait, go ahead.
Just a quick question. This site, is it close to the entrance to Suffolk Downs that's on the East Boston side? Do you know, as you were going down the main, from Lee Burbank Highway down that cutoff?
It's separated by the Irving terminal.
Because I remember doing a site visit just adjacent to that causeway that goes down to the main building. And I was just curious if it was that same area, but you're saying that's Irving?
That's right, yes.
And Global's what, more?
In the middle.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, so I'll get a map of where we can meet and, from you guys, so,
Yeah, we can send something out.
okay, all right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I have one other thing that we need to discuss. On the agenda, I'm going to go to the correspondence on the agenda. So for the commissioners, a couple of months ago, Hancock Associates notified us of a couple of changes in the drawings. And they wanted us to discuss it at the meeting. One of the changes was, on the drawings, they listed two types of bank reinforcement. And then after discussions with CZM, they settled on one of those two. So it's really not a change, because they had the option. The other, after discussions with CZM, they changed the elevations of the outfalls. So this is the G&J site, 22 Whitten Avenue extension. The outfalls are going to be higher. Again, it wouldn't change any of the orders that we've issued or anything, and so I kind of felt.
Change the location?
No, just the height. They're getting them out of the tide. And Katie's here if you have a question, but I think this could have been handled at the end of the project with certificate of completion, but want to get on the record that the commission feels these are insignificant and no changes are required. And so if I can get a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, sorry, Joe.
I have Katie here. I wonder if I could.
Yeah, let her come in.
Good evening.
I'm kind of taking advantage of having you here. I'm pretty sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that was discussed at that site was the removal of the pilings that exist, the pilings that were abandoned, not the ones to the pier, but the pilings that were all but abandoned. And I believe that we requested that those be removed. And are we still on board with that?
Yeah, so that hasn't changed since the original notice of intent, but the plan is to cut them down right below the mud level, so they will be removed.
And what about the actual pier, the one that's a little bit more substantial than the other pilings?
Yep, the pier is to remain.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion to, that the commissioners agree that the two changes are not significant.
I'll create a motion for that.
The second,
Second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, thanks, Katie. So we'll finish up with the correspondence. The Irving Oil Terminal, they wanted to pick up and finish some work that they had started. And the Army Corps of Engineers verified that they still have a authorization under General Permit Number 3. And the Whitten Avenue project also got an Army Corps of Engineers authorization to start their work under general permit number 1, below the high tide line on the Saugus River. So that was correspondence that has come in that I've sent to the commissioners. And then for enforcement action updates, 80 Union Street, Nick is going to send a draft closing that notification out, because I think they've complied with everything there. And then for 630 Revere Beach Boulevard, we issued an enforcement order there. They've since hired an attorney. The attorney has recorded the enforcement order and the order of conditions. They have removed all of the debris from the wetlands area, so they've complied there. I just need to go and follow up to make sure they've done the seeding with some wetland mixes of grass and flowers. So, and then we'll watch that to make sure that grows over the course of a year. So they're in compliance as far as I can tell right now.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I'm curious, I just assumed that that property wasn't the property owner's property in the back there. I believe, I don't know if it's Mass Gas and Electric, somebody else has the right of way.
National Grid has the right of way, and then I think there's a section, well, I'm not gonna say, have it recorded, but they definitely have the right of way. And then I think there's another piece of property that goes up against the road, and I'm not sure who owns that, but that was not owned at all by the owners. Yeah. Does anyone have anything else?
On the 16th, at what time we're gonna meet?
8,
8 o'clock? Okay, I get up really early.
bring donuts.
And if I park my car at the entrance of, East Boston entrance of the horse track, I can walk to this site?
No.
Oh, I got the wrong picture.
So they're gonna send us where to meet.
Okay.
I will call you and tell you
Okay,
where.
and with instructions?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. All right. If anyone have anything else? All right, so having nothing, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a
The
motion
motion
to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.